Hello students, we will talk about analgesic antipyretics. Now, generally we call this class as non-steroidal anti-inflammatories because the other category of narcotic analgesics, these are mainly associated with they are very good analgesics. They have the steroidal moiety in them, and you have the morphine and the related compounds, but they have the addiction forming ability, whereas the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, we call them as NSAIDs. They are analgesic, antipyretic, anti-inflammatory drugs. Now let us see what is the meaning of these words. Antipyretics means the agent which reduce elevated body temperature. Anti-inflammatory agents are the ones which produce a symptomatic relief from inflammation, and analgesics are the drugs which relieve the pain. Now this pain, when we say, or inflammation, there are number of series of events which are initiated by a stimulus. Now this stimulus can be injury to the tissue, it can be infection by microorganism, or it can be certain mediators released by antigen antibody reactions. So in the body we have several mediators like 5-hydroxytryptamine, we have prostaglandins. See, all these, it involves a complex mechanisms. You have a nociceptive pathway whereby this stimulus leads to the C fiber activity, and then that releases all these mediators which causes pain. So now this response to the stimulus, we call it as inflammatory response, and there are clinical signs. So where there are one is redness, second is fever, and then there is a swelling and pain. So fever can be sometimes associated. So you have, what is edema? Edema is the stagnation of the tissue fluid that will result from vasodilation and diffusion of the plasma water. Then the synthesis and release of prostaglandins and cytokines will be associated with pain and fever. Now analgesic antipyretic differ from narcotic analgesics in that they do not depress CNS and they are devoid of this addiction liability. The NSAID especially relieve the pain arising from muscles, skin, joints, and they relieve the dull aching pain of low intensity but not useful in the visceral pain. Let us see the classification. We have the following classes based on the chemical structure: salicylates, aspirin, sodium salicylate, second is para-amino phenol derivatives, paracetamol, phenacetin, pyrazolone derivatives, phenylbutazone, oxyphenbutazone, indole acetic acid derivatives like indomethacin, anthranoic acid derivatives, mefenamic acid, propionic acid derivatives, ibuprofen, naproxen, oxycam, piroxicam, and miscellaneous we have diclofenac. We will discuss salicylates first. Salicylate is the most popular effective analgesic agent, and among them we have acetyl salicylic acid, that is aspirin, which is most widely used drug. If we see the pharmacokinetics, they are well absorbed from the stomach and small intestine, and the gastric pH favors the absorption of drugs. This is always given on food so as to avoid gastric irritation, which may lead to nausea, vomiting. Now another way to prevent this gastric irritation is to give sodium bicarbonate along with salicylate. Aspirin is rapidly deacetylated in the plasma and liver to produce salicylic acid, and then it is degraded by liver by conjugation mechanism and excreted in the urine. The excretion of salicylate in the urine is pH dependent, and increase in the pH of the urine increases elimination of aspirin in urine as salicylic acid. let us see the pharmacological actions of aspirin. So now at normal therapeutic dosage, it will have analgesic, antipyretic, anti-inflammatory properties. At higher dosage, it has uricosuric effect, that is both peripheral and central nervous system effects. Let us see the analgesic action. The drugs are mainly useful in relieving the dull aching pain of low intensity that comes from muscles and joints. Also useful in toothache, dysmenorrhea. Now it's supposed to act on hypothalamus, that is the region for integration of pain sensation. Now by peripheral action, salicylate block the effect of bradykinin on the pain producing chemoreceptors. And they also reduce prostaglandin synthesis and release. That is how the analgesic action is achieved. Then antipyretic action, you have the heat regulating center in the hypothalamus. So that is affected when, and then you have fever. So aspirin resets this heat regulation mechanism to function at normal body temperature. The excess heat from the body will be lost by perspiration, vasodilation, and that brings down the body temperature. Then we have effect on respiration. They stimulate the respiration. As a result of metabolic effect, salicylate increase consumption of oxygen by skeletal muscles. So that in turn will produce a stimulation of respiration. They also directly stimulate the medullary respiratory center. And the hyperventilation resulting from respiratory stimulation may cause the respiratory alkalosis. We have the next effect is anti-inflammatory, anti-rheumatic effect. Now salicylate reduce the capillary permeability and diminish the amount of exudation. So the anti-rheumatic effect plays a variety of stimuli in the body. You have the bradykinins and prostaglandins which are released, which lead to inflammation. And your salicylates, say aspirin and indomethacin, directly inhibit the release of these substances, and that is how they bring about anti-inflammatory effect. Then what is uricosuric effect? The action of salicylate on this uric acid excretion depend on the dose of salicylate. In the low dose less than 3 gram per day, they will block the tubular secretion of uric acid, and the level of blood uric acid will raise. But when the dose is increased to 5 gram, 5 gram or more than that, it prevents the reabsorption and increases its excretion. That means the larger dosage is uricosuric, and the smaller ones is retention, causes retention of uric acid. Then we have metabolic effect. Salicylate enhance utilization of glucose. That means they help in reducing the blood sugar level, that is bring about hypoglycemia. Now what are the adverse effects? The therapeutic dosage of salicylate used as analgesic antipyretic cause gastric irritation, nausea, vomiting. Gastric bleeding is also common, but rarely the allergic reaction may occur. The main adverse effect of salicylate is hypoprothrombinemia, that is a decrease in the prothrombin level, so that it leads to increased bleeding tendency. Chronic administration may cause the toxic manifestation, that is salicylism. That means nausea, vomiting, headache, tinnitus, deafness, dizziness, restlessness, and mental confusion. This resembles the pattern of toxicity produced by quinine. We call which as synchronism. Acute toxicity of salicylate may cause hyperpyrexia, convulsions, and coma. Now the therapeutic uses of salicylates, they're effective in relieving the musculoskeletal pain. The dose of sodium salicylate and aspirin is 0.3 to 1 gram to be repeated every 4 hours. It serves as effective therapy in the treatment of rheumatic fever, commonly as antipyretic agent. Methyl salicylate is used as a counter irritant in rubefacient, and salicylate also used as anti-inflammatory agent. Let us see the preparations and dosage of salicylates. We have acetyl salicylic acid 0.3 to 1 gram orally, 4 to 8 grams daily, and aspirin tablets same. Sodium salicylate is 0.5 to 2 grams orally, 5 to 10 milligrams a daily dosage, and methyl salicylate is for topical use. Then let us talk about the next class, that is para-amino phenol derivatives. We have phenacetin and paracetamol, which is the main two drugs. Phenacetin is effective analgesic and antipyretic with activity similar to aspirin, but it has no anti-inflammatory action. Phenacetin causes methemoglobinemia. Long-term use leads to the toxic manifestation of renal papillary necrosis. Now it has been withdrawn because of the severe effects. And then we have the most important drug is paracetamol, which is a major metabolite of phenacetin resulting from deethylation. Now, like aspirin, it has effective analgesic antipyretic properties, but it lacks anti-inflammatory action. Comparatively, paracetamol is safer drug and it is well absorbed on oral administration. This is metabolized in liver and excreted in the urine. The dosage is 300 to 600 milligram every 6 hours, and larger dosage is hepatotoxic. Then we have pyrazolone derivatives, phenylbutazone. This is administered orally or parenterally. This is well absorbed and bound extensively to the plasma proteins, oxidized to oxyphene butazone, which is active metabolite. Now, if we see the pharmacological action of phenylbutazone, they are much less analgesic properties less than salicylate, but anti-inflammatory action is remarkable, and it reduces capillary permeability and inhibit the synthesis of prostaglandins, and thus act as anti-inflammatory drug. Now this also diminish the reabsorption of uric acid by proximal renal tubule and thus exert the uricosuric effect. But the adverse effects are epigastric discomfort, nausea, vomiting, and in certain cases peptic ulceration, aplastic anemia, and granulocytosis have been observed. Now therapeutic uses, we have anti-inflammatory drugs used in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. So for arthritis, is a very good drug, and also used in the treatment of gout because of the uricosuric effect. Analgin is given both orally and parenterally. The effects are similar to that of aspirin. It has no distinct advantage over aspirin except that it can be given in emergency conditions. We have indole acetic acid derivatives, indomethacin. Indomethacin has analgesic, anti-inflammatory, antipyretic effects as that of aspirin, and it's likely to cause headache, giddiness, vertigo, and gastric upset. Again, because of the high incidence of side effect with chronic administration, the use is not recommended unless aspirin therapy is either not effective or not tolerated. Then we have Sulindac, which is closely related to indomethacin. This is analgesic, antipyretic, anti-inflammatory, and this is a prodrug. And sulfide metabolite is active. Sulindac is a potent inhibitor of cyclooxygenase and less toxic than indomethacin. Sulindac is used for rheumatoid arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis. And we have anthranoic acid derivatives like mefenamic acid. This is acid derivative, and this is quite effective in chronic and dull aches, but it is weaker analgesic than aspirin. The toxic reaction of mefenamic acid will induce gastric upset, diarrhea, dizziness, headache, skin rashes, hemolytic anemia, and blood dyscrasias. And then we have propionic acid derivatives like ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is one of the important propionic acid derivative inhibitor of prostaglandin synthesis. It exhibits a strong analgesic, antipyretic, and strong anti-inflammatory actions. The side effects include gastric, nausea, vomiting, heartburn and diarrhea. It is useful in the treatment of arthritis, osteoarthritis, and ankylosing spondylitis. It can be used as an alternative to individuals who are not able to tolerate aspirin. And the other propionic derivative which is in the clinical practice is naproxen, phenoprofen, ketoprofen, and flurbiprofen. And lastly, we have oxycam derivatives. Piroxicam is oxycam derivative which has analgesic, antipyretic, and anti-inflammatory effect is similar to that of aspirin and indomethacin. The advantage is that it is administered as a single daily dose, mainly used in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and even in the treatment of gout.